Hey comrades, what's up? We're here to talk about Shining Force 2. That's the 5th game. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the 5th game. Oh, that's right, because those two are combined. I was just trying to remember how I have my my database set up. Okay, so go ahead, like, share, subscribe, follow, whatever, share, comment. Okay. So Shining Force 2 takes place sometime after Shining Force Final Conflict. And the Kingdom of Grand Seal is now like a kingdom, and they're allied with the Kingdom of Galim, and that's where our story picks up. But actually, you're going to see not a lot of gameplay footage from the early games. Now, with these Shining Force games thus far, being they're just kind of strategic tactic style games, I mostly just have like video running in the background of me doing battles, usually sped up. So whatever you're seeing now, it's most likely going to be a bit of story or a bit of kind of future battles, not kind of at the spot where we're talking about for the first little bit. Now, I had some issues recording. The first issue is I just didn't record, or like the video got fucked up because I hit record in OBS. And then I full screened the game, but then I had the OBS set up to record like the game window, so that it has to be windowed for it to do that, which I didn't realize, which you'd think I'd know by now, because I definitely had this issue in the past. But I didn't realize that, and thus, here we are. And then I was doing a lot of moving stuff around on my server and my computer and just kind of stuff like that. And my hard drive on my laptop was full, which I didn't realize. So I tried recording the second video for this. That also did not really take. So here we go. So the game opens up with a thief and his two homies. We later learn that guy is Slade, and he's like a mouse thief guy, and he joins us later. But he's running around the ruins looking for stuff. He finds like a power water, and he's like, nah, I don't need this shit. And I was like, well, I want that shit, which I later go get when the game actually starts. He finds these two jewels. We later find out they're like the Jewel of Light and the Jewel of Darkness, or of Good and Evil, or whatever. And he yanks and yanks and yanks on those. We then head over to the Castle of Grand Seal, where the king feels not great about the whole situation. He doesn't realize the jewels are being stolen, but he just feels, oh, I feel kind of weird. And there's like a storm going on outside, and he's got a lot of concerns. And he's talking to his chamberlain or his counselor or whatever about it. We then head back to Slade, and Slade's goons are really trying to pull those things off, but they're not able to get it. Finally, Slade goes up, and he's like, I got this. And so he yanks at both of them at the same time, and bam, they finally come out. And he's like, huzzah, we did it. And they all, they grab their jewels and they run out of there. The shrine starts to shake as they flee. Then we go back to the king, and the wind blows out the candles, right, eerie as shit. And then the chamberlain notices the Tower of the Ancients is beginning to collapse. A guard comes in, and he says the sealed doors that lead to the Tower of the Ancients have opened, and the Chamberlain and the guard head over there to check it out. The king is standing around being concerned about everything that's going on, and then he sees a shadow in the window, and that shadow becomes a flying creature that flies down to his throne, and he does something to the king. The king calls out for help, but no one's around. He gets blasted to the ground, and then we go to the start screen. And we get the typical Shining Force thing where this time there's like an old witch with like a pot, and she's like, oh, welcome, are you ready to hear the story? What book would you like to read? And then you choose like your file. There's 3 files to save on. And we choose. All right, so the main character, I have no idea what he's supposed to be called in this game. It's like Boozy. Bowie. It's Bowie. Or Bowie? It's Bowie. I think it's Bowie, like David Bowie. I call him Comrade because that's what I do. So Comrade wakes up, and he had like a really rough night with like the storm and everything, and he talks to his mamacita, and well, not his mamacita. He talks to his mom, and she says that Sir Astral and Sarah were looking for them, and that he needs to head over to the training school to get trained. So we walk around and just talk to random people. We head into the training school. There's Sarah. She's our wannabe girlfriend from her point of view. And there's Night Guy, and then there's Jaha, name I'll never forget, who's like the dwarf gladiator guy. Chester, that's his name. Oh wait, no, Jaha's not there yet. Jaha shows up later. Yeah, that's right. It's just Chester and Sarah. So we go talk to Sir Astro, and he's like, all right, time for some lessons. And he's being really cryptic about some bullshit before we start. We then start the class, and then Sir Astro gets pulled in by a guard, and they head out to talk to the king because the king's having some issues. So he's like, hey, you stay here, and you figure it out. We then Sarah convinces us to follow him to the castle. So we go up there, and then they're like, hey, what are you doing here? And Sarah's like, oh, the Sir Astro want us to come and bring him some lunch. They're like, all right, sounds good. So we find out that Gollum from last game, this is where we find out that they're allies with Gransil. But everyone in the castle is really concerned about the king. He was found sick, and he's stuck in his bed. So in Sir Astral, when we show up, he's mad that we followed, but then he's like, hey, you know what? I got to stay here. We got to figure out what's going on with the king. Let's go check this sealed door that got opened. And so he leads us over to the ancient tower. We go into the sealed door. We see some like beat up guards. No, we wouldn't see them yet. We head on in, and there in the middle is this crazy like spirit thing. And the Sir Astro's like, oh, I'll hold it at bay. You must stop its like replicants or whatever, because it creates a bunch of little other spirits. And so then we start the battle. We finally start the game, essentially. So comrades, Sarah and Chester, I grind out a little bit, not too much. I think I get everybody to level like 2, maybe 3. I think Chester got to level 3 at this point. We're just killing these like spirits. And then once we kill like the sub spirits, the main spirit creature, I can't remember what he calls it, like a gizmo or something. He takes off. So we with Sir Astral follow after, and the gizmo is trying to possess the king. But Sir Astral is able to fight it off and kind of knock it out, but then he collapses from exhaustion. But we save the king, so he's not being possessed anymore by this creature. But the gizmo like flies off somewhere, so we still got to go figure out what's going on with that. Then when Sir Astral, before he like takes his little nappy-potamus, he's not dead, don't worry about it. He's like, oh, hey, can you go find Howl? Like Hal from Final Conflict, right? The wizard who stayed behind. He's like, go find him. He has a lot of knowledge about the Tower of the Ancients and the sealed door and all this stuff, so he should be able to give us more information so we can figure out what to do. And then the king, now that he's feeling better, he gets all the soldiers, and he's like, hey, go out and, make sure everyone's okay and whatnot. And then you guys, you three, head up there and see what you can do. So we go, and on our way out of Gransil, Jaha like finally wakes the fuck up and comes and tracks us down. So yay! Now we got our party of 4. Awesome. Okay, so then first thing we do is and this is the first time in these games that we're able to like hang out in the overworld to like more than just like a very simple amount. So we go and we can go down to that shrine that Slade was, where he left the power water, and we can get the power water so we can give that to comrades so we can be more powerful. We head out to Yeel. We got to fight our way there. That's like the closest town. And then we talk to everybody about Howl, and eventually we meet Kazin. Kazin is the apprentice of Howl, and he's like, oh yeah, I just came here for some stuff. I can take you to him. So he leads us out, and then it's time for another battle. In this battle, we're at this point, we're just fighting like slimes and giant rats and shit. But once we get to Hal's house, we find him like passed out, or him dying, and he's like, "Oh, you must seal the Tower of Ancients. You must make sure that nothing crazy happens." And then he kind of dies, and he's like, "Cause then go with the Shining Force." And I guess with the Shining Force, because people just keep joining the Force. And then some guards show up from Galem, and we drive them off, and then we head out, and it's like we meet some named guard who's not named at this point. We find out later it's Lemon, who's the guy that will join the Force, obviously. And he, like almost every single, like, not named, but like every time we get like a facial character, they're like somebody who could possibly join at some point. Not everybody, but the majority of people. Like so he's there, and he's like, oh, guards, stop them. So we level Kazin up a little bit and fight our way over to Galem. And once we beat everybody here, I guess if you lose, you get the same thing. But Lemon, the knight captain for Gollum, he's like, oh, well, you're still going to get fucked. And he knocks us out and drags us to jail at Galem. So once there, we are woken. We hear people talking about what's going on at Galem and how the king just seems different, and how like this guy's like the old council member, and he called it out, and then he got thrown in jail. And then we find Slade there, and we find out that the Galem soldiers, they found him and his cronies, and they killed the cronies, which he's really put out about, to be completely honest. And then they were looking for they took the jewels away. So they took the evil jewel and then the light jewel. And then the king's acting like real crazy. And so we're talking about like breaking out and getting out of there. And Slade's like, you know what? I'm going to help you guys. So he breaks us out of the jail, and then we're about to like head out, and someone's like, oh, you can't go that way. That's where all the guards are. They're going to stop you, and they're going to hurt you, and you're not going to be able to escape. And then Slade's like, hold up, I can help you guys. I know a secret passage. And at this point, Sarah, that's her name, right? Sarah's like, wait a second. I know you. You're the one who stole the jewels. And I'm like, how the fuck would you know that? And then Slade's like, oh, shucks, you got me. And she's like, you caused all these problems. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. Let me make it up to you. And so he leads us through the secret tunnel out into like the kitchens or whatever of the castle of Galem. And then we hear some doofuses talking. One of them's like, oh, I got this jewel of light from the king. He was so happy that I did something, so he gave it to me. And it's like, oh, that's super cool, bro. And like, wait, here's some bad guys. Oh no. And so we fight our way through there, and we hear the king at some point around here. We hear the king talking about how he looks all crazy, and he's like, we're gonna go attack. We sent a messenger to the king of Grand Soul to see if he was okay, and they killed him, so they declared war against us, and now we're gonna go fight them because we're not gonna put up with that bullshit. And so him and all his like guards, including Lemon, they all head out. And it's like, okay, we gotta follow these guys, but first we just gotta wander around Galem for a little bit, and like, oh look, we can upgrade our weapons and stuff. And Slade joins us around this point as well, to help make up for what he did. He's a thief, like the Rowbone guy from the Final Conflict game, who eventually, I think he promotes to a ninja just like him. So good stuff. Okay, and we also find out that the king of Galem has the evil jewel, and yes, okay. So we have to fight our way down to Castle Grand Seal, and once we get back, we see that everybody's like murked pretty good, and that there was like this whole group of like a menagerie of like animals, like exotic animals, and one of them is Kiwi. Kiwi's great. He's one of the best characters in the game. He's like this turtle guy with the crown that he hits with, and he's got like 7 hit points, which is nothing. Like even your weakest mage has like way more hit points. But the thing about Kiwi is his defense is so high that everybody just does 1 damage to him. Now his greatest weakness is magic. Because his hit points are so low, magic just does what magic does, which is like the same amount of damage to everybody pretty much. Excuse me. And so he, we just got to keep him away from mages. So we always got to like checker block, walk around with him, and we're pretty good. But he's pretty good. We got to level him up. He's pretty low level at this point. We also talked to main character's mom, and she's like, "Oh, don't go to the castle. There's some trouble brewing up there." But we do, of course. So we go up there, and we find that everyone got beat up pretty good. Like the guards got pretty beat up by Galem, and that Lemon and his crew and the king like headed into the Tower of Ancients, and we help the king and the chamberlain, and then we hear the princess cry out, and she's like, "Help, help!" And Sir Astral's around here too. So we all head in there to fight our way through, and we find Lemon. He's like knocked out because at some point he was like, oh, the king, something's wrong with the king, and then there were devils, and we tried to fight them, and it wasn't super great. And then we head in, and the king is absolutely possessed. Because the first time we see his face, he looks like an old man king. Now he looks like an evil monster old man king. And so we fight our way to him, and it doesn't matter. He's still not going to release the Princess Elsa or whatever from like his evil grasp. And in fact, he opens up like another passage inside the temple. Oh, and this time when we fight him, we don't fight him in the same place we fought the Gizmos. He like opened another passageway. So now we're like in passageway number 3, and he summons these tubes of light that pick up him and the princess and start carrying him away. Now the king is like completely distraught about this whole situation, but Sir Astral, thinking off on his toes, does like a Wolverine special or whatever. So in the X-Men comics, there's this move from like the early Uncanny X-Men second generation group where Colossus will pick up Wolverine and just chuck him as hard as he can, because one, he's indestructible because of his healing powers and his adamantium bones and all that stuff, and two, he's like a little Wolverine, obviously, so he just like claws shit up. And so they do the same thing with main character. So the Sir Astral, who's like an old man, and Chamberlain, who's an old man, they pick up Comrade and they toss him as hard as they can, and they miss the princess, but he's able to catch on to the light tube for King Galen. And then they kind of bicker a little bit, but then the evil jewel like releases itself from King Galen, or like Comrade grabs it and then it merges with like the light crystal, or like combines and sinks itself into Comrade's chest. And at that point Comrade like falls all the way back down, and the princess and the King of Galen are like absorbed into, or enter this like chamber. At that point the whole fucking tower starts to like shake real bad, and the King's like completely distraught and doesn't know what to do, but it's like, hey bro, we gotta go. So Astral and the Chamberlain, who clearly have a lot more like lower body strength, or like core strength, pick up the King and run, and then we follow after, and the whole thing is like collapsing, and there's people falling in pits, and it's pretty bad. But there's a dock here, so we head straight to the dock, and we get on a boat, and don't worry, our mom's there and all our friends, and so the whole force gets on there, and most of the town and city that wasn't killed by Galen's guards, we all hop on this thing, and then the boat takes off, and right as the boat's like leaving the river out into the ocean, the whole area, like the whole fucking area around the tower just collapses into the ground, including like all the water, the river, the entire castle, like the forest. It's like this huge fucking area. And that's the end of chapter 1, question mark. The ship sails east until we reach landfall, and Sir Astral's like, hey, just crash that ship. We're not going back in this thing. We need this wood to build like a new kingdom. And the King's sad hippopotamus still. He's pretty despondent. So we crash the ship, and then we get like a nice little scene where the characters are interacting with each other and having a good gay old time. And we're tearing the ship apart for parts, and then we can do that. And someone's like, hey, can you take this plank upstairs? So we take the plank upstairs, and as we're trying to put it where it needs to go, somebody comes running back. He's like, help, help, help. My friend went to like the what's it called, the cliffs over there, and now he hasn't returned, and I don't know what to do, and it's like, can anyone help? And so the Shining Force is like, yeah, we're better doing that than tearing ships apart. So we go over there and we find like a witch and her cronies and the injured guy, and we just beat the shit out of all of them and rescue the guy, and then we all head back. And when we head back, it's like, oh look, the town's making a lot of improvements. So I guess we were gone for like a distinct amount of time, and then literally the game's like, any year passes. Cool. So now we have a decent sized like actual castle city area. And then, so it's like new Grand Seal. But, at this point, we're trying to figure out what's the next step for our civilization to thrive. And it's like, okay, well, we need trading partners. We can't just rely on our own stuff. So we got to find people who are already established and do whatever. And so Sir Astral's like, I'll go. And the Chamberlain's like, no, you're staying here with me and watching over the King, because he's still kind of like, fucked up about everything. But we'll send Shining Force out there. So Comrade to get out there and make it happen. So as we're leaving the town, we run into Peter. Peter's a Phoenix, and he's being harassed by some local ruffians. And then we just stand there and watch. But then the Chamberlain comes by and he's like, hey, leave that guy the fuck alone. What are you doing? Get out of here, you scamps. And he takes Peter back to the King. So then we head back to the King. And we learn that Peter is a Phoenix. He comes from Volcanon, who's like one of the ancient gods who created the world. And that he just was like out and about exploring stuff. And we're like, oh, we can use your help and do trading and yada, yada, yada. And Peter's like, oh, I'll help. Everyone knows me around here. It should be pretty good. And we're like, awesome. Shining Force, take Peter and go do that. And we get Peter, but we don't really get Peter, which is kind of annoying. Like, he joins the Shining Force, and he joins at like an equivalent level to where everyone's at. I think everyone at this point is like level 10-ish. And he's level 9. But you can't control him. And he does like the whole bullshit monster thing, where if the monsters don't get close enough for him to like be able to move to engage them, he kind of just fucks around in like a circle. So like my units, I would like start heading out to like fight, and then he would just like move 2 spaces left, move 2 spaces up, move 2 spaces right, essentially. The rest of my team was like taking care of business, and so he didn't gain any levels at this point. I mean, later on in the game, he actually joins you, and then he levels up pretty quick because he's so far behind. And he's super strong. I've read places where they say he's the strongest character in the game by far, so he's no slouch. Okay, so we head to first place we head to is Ribble, which is a town nearby. We get there, and some guy's like, hey, it's foreigners. They're from that awful town. Let's do something about it. So he runs to the mayor, and we go to talk to the mayor, and the mayor like pushes us out of his house and says, get the fuck out of here. You're like, damn son, what did I do to you? And he's like, we don't like your type around here. And it's like, shit. But then Peter's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, Peter, I'm sorry. Are you with these guys? All right, they can't be all that bad. All right, we'll trade with you. That's fine. It's like, damn, thanks, Peter. And then we hear about, what's his name? We hear about a guy who's like a devil fighter, and we hear about this tree in the middle of town and how has a magic sword, but you need to use some sort of plank or something to get into it. We learn that we need to head eastward to find Volcanon, and so we can go talk to him, and there's a couple other towns over there. We also learn about a cave of darkness. And we're like, cool. So then we just get like the open world, and this is the first time in this series, because none of the Gaiden games did it, but Shining Force 1 even was like, yeah, you can move around in the outside field occasionally when battle's over, but it's really just like you're in a box, and it's like you can go there. That is it. Here it's like, all right, where do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know. This is like a wide open world with stuff. So we go wander around and eventually find Ribble. Oh no, we're in Ribble. So we follow like this river and kind of meander about, and we get into a battle, and then we find a cave. And the cave is the Cave of Darkness, and we get jumped by like the Hobgoblin, who's master of Cave of Darkness, and he's a real say it with me, asshole. But he's pretty easy, so we beat the shit out of him. And once we clear that, we head to Polka. So then when we talk to the mayor of Polka, then we can now try. Oh no! And we just talked to people in Polka. They're like, "Oh, you got rid of the Hobgoblin. That guy was an asshole. Thank you so much. You helped us out so much. Because now we can trade with Ribble, and yeah, we'll totally ally with Grand Seal, and we can trade with you guys too. This is going to be great." As we get to like, we meet another guy who clearly is going to join the Shining Force later, Garrett. We don't learn his name right now, but you know he has a face, so that's going to happen. And as we're heading off to Volcanon, which is up the mountain from Polka. Well, first we got to go to Bedoy, which is like the Birdman town. We get there's like the volcano erupts, and then this like youth who has no eyes, who can't see, who's blind. He shows up, and you're like, hey, it's old Closed Eye McGee, probably from Final Conflict. Excellent, he's here, but he seems to have no memory because he just like wanders out and then passes out. And so the mayor and Garrett like take him and try to take care of him. And Peter's like, cool, that's good for those guys. Let's go. And so then we head out to the mountain range, and as soon as we head out of the town, we get into another battle. And there's devils, and they're like, oh, fuck, we're looking for somebody. Where'd he go? I think they're clearly looking for old Closed Eyes, but they don't find him because we beat the shit out of him, and they move on to Bedoy. Oh, before we leave, in Polka, we get May, who's our first archer, and she is okay. She's slow and not very strong, but it's nice to have an extra unit, so whatever, we'll take it. Okay, yeah, so once we get to Bedoy... Oh, once we get to Bedoy, the guards there are like, hey, stop! Oh, wait a second. Hey, Peter, what's up, man? And they're like, hey, we were just killing devils over there. And they're like, oh, devils, let's go get them! And we're like, whoa, 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 we already killed them all. And it's like, oh, don't worry about it. We're gonna go kill some more. And then they take off, and they're like, we're gonna go kill a bunch if there's any left, and then we're gonna go guard Polka. And Peter's like, cool, sounds good, bros. So we wander around Bedoy and meet all the bird people, and they seem nice enough. A lot of their family members have died fighting devil army, and there's some like sad stories about raising their bird babies by themselves, and the woman who it's all that bullshit. Anyway, we get to the top floor and we meet the king, and the king is talking to his son Prince Luke and his wife, I guess, the queen. I don't know, it's like a female bird person. So the bird people, they're like brown is male and white is female in this world, I guess, and then there's some chicas, like little cheekies, which is adorbs. And so they're talking about how we unsealed the thing, and Xenos, the Lord of Demons, he like got released, or the King Devil, or the Immortal Devil, or whatever. And the Volcanon is pissed off. But we show up, and they're like, hey, Peter, welcome back. Who's this? And like, oh, it's Comrade. And Luke's like, oh, I know you. I went and saw Sir Astral at Grand Seal. We're all friends now. And they're like, oh, that's cool. That's nice. Good, good, good. And then King's like, I don't know, man. Volcanon's pretty pissed off. You should go talk to him. Peter's like, I'll talk to him. It'll be fine. And it's not fine. He's mad. He's real fucking mad. So we head up to the shrine, and Volcanon's like, what's up, Pete? And Peter's like, oh, man, I went and did this, and I did that, and did that. And he's like, oh, very good, very good, very good. And he's like, look, I made a friend, this guy. And he's like, you're the one who really, you're from Grand Seal. You released the demon. I am done. I am done with you earthwalking motherfuckers. Like, the only people I will protect is Bedoy. The rest of you can go rot in fucking hell. Like, he goes off. He is mad. And then Peter's like, hey, bro, calm down. And he's like, no, you calm the fuck down. I'm done. I'm out. And he leaves. And then Peter's like, hello? Hello, God? And then essentially he's like, before he does that, he's like, if you reseal Zenith, then I will protect your people and help you again. That is it. That is all. I am out. So he leaves. And so it's like, okay. Peter's like, all right, well, I'm going to go with you and we'll figure this out. And Peter finally fucking joins where I can control him, which is super nice. So then we go talk to the king, and the king's like, oh, wow, you're going to go back and seal Zenith and everything? That's great. You're doing the right thing. High five. You should go talk to... Did I write this fucking name down? You should go talk to... Creed. You should go talk to Creed, who's a formal devil general, but he's like retired from being a devil or something. He's over there, and you need a raft to get to him. So you got to get the raft. If you go down to Polka and tell them to give you a raft, they'll give you a raft, and you can raft over there and do your raft shit. So we're like, cool, let's do that. And so Luke's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to Polka, the mayor of Polka, make sure this all goes down. So he leaves. And then we have like a little adventure where we talk to a bird who's trying to fly, and then he learns how to fly. And then a mother who's standing out on like a thing, and she's like throwing a bird baby in the air, which seems like a bad idea because the birds don't just learn how to fly. You know, they have to like learn how to fly eventually. Anyway, so when we're leaving the town, we like, the baby gets dropped and lands right on top of us. So we save it. And then the mom's like, yay, you saved Screech. Thank you so much. So he'll probably join us later, if I remember correctly. So that's a fun little side story. So we head back to Polka, and we immediately see Luke and two of his bird homies getting into an argument with some devils, and the devil's like, you fucking weak bird boys, no one gives a fuck about you, we're gonna mess you up. And then he's like, yeah, fuck you, and the horse you rode in on. And then they kill the two bird homies, rest in peace. And then Garrett shows up. He's like, I'm gonna help you fight. Garrett's like the werewolf guy, like Baron Zunga or whatever from the first game. And it's like, all right, homie, let's do this. And then the devil's like, I don't think so, Luke. And then they knock Prince Luke out. And then Garrett joins the Shining Force, which is great because just like in Shining Force 1, he's one of the best characters in the game. So then we start the battle, and we beat the shit out of these guys pretty well. We're all like level 14, 15 at this point. And after the battle's over, we wake Luke up, and he's like, oh, thanks, bros, homies. I'm going to join you for realsy this time, which he doesn't immediately. He, like, joins the Force, which is like Peter joins the Force. And then we go talk to the mayor, and the mayor's very apologetic because, you know, they sold out the bird people and Luke to the devil to protect Adler, is what they call him, I think, who's like the blind guy. And then he's like, yeah, I'll get your raft. That'll make it up for it, right? And Luke's like, yeah, I guess so. Why not? Fuck it. And so he goes and gets us a raft prepared, and as we're about to leave, he's like, hey, take this guy with you. I don't want any more trouble from those devil guys, and I don't know what to do with him. So we take the blind kid with us, so fun stuff there. Upon leaving, Luke is like, oh, we got the raft. Awesome. I'm going to join you guys officially. And then he officially joins the Shining Force, which I don't know why I didn't do that earlier, but whatever. So then we hop in the raft, and we sail around for a while, and eventually we run into this battle in a desert, which... fucking desert battles. And then I made the mistake of beating the battle, but not, like, going to the next part of the game. So I egressed just to like resurrect somebody, just to like make sure that like I was ready for the next battle. And then when I wandered my ass back over here, I had to do the whole desert battle again. And desert battles are the worst because everyone moves so goddamn slow. Bruh. So we finally get through the battle the second time, which was easier because obviously I leveled up twice now in this stupid fucking battle. Everyone's sitting around, I want to say 17, 18 at this point. And in this game, it extends the promotion. So you promote at level 20 at the earliest, and you can go up to level like 40 before you like stop getting any benefit from leveling up. I think I'm going to push to 30-ish. I read some stuff where people are like, oh yeah, you got to take everybody to 40 because then, you know, that's how you play the game. And then other people are like, man, if you take everyone to 40, first of all, it's going to be ridiculously grindy for like hours on end to get them there. And then the rest of the game is just going to be completely trivialized because you keep like 90% of your stat gains that whole way up. And it's like, come on. That's like, essentially you're starting with like, you start over at promotion level 1 with like twice the stats. And so it just becomes completely ridiculous. And then other people are like, man, I promote at like level 20, 25 maybe, and it's fine. It's like kind of difficult, but it's not that hard. These games are not hard, which I would agree. So I'll probably push to like 30. There's like they keep mentioning this like fairy garden thing or whatever. And so when I get there, I'll probably just get everyone up to level 30 and then we'll promote and go from there. But we enter a cave again, this ruins, which I should have just done before, but whatever. And we meet this guy who's like, oh, something, are you Peter? or Petro, not Pedro, like the Spanish with a D. It's like with a T, so Petro. Are you Petro? Oh, Petro, my old man here, the old grandpa guy. He was really obsessed with like the wind orb, and the wind orb was gonna let people fly because he used to make people fly, and it has something to do with the Nazca ship and the Nazca lines and all this stuff. But he left, and the old man's like, "Oh, that son of a bitch! He like took the orb, wind of light, and he pieced out." And you're like, "Yeah, I know about tunnels and shit. There's tunnels all over the place, but the only ones that like really work now are the ones that go to Grands." And then our Peter is like, not Petro, could also be considered a Peter, I guess. Is like, "Oh, you can get us over to Grands. That's where we're going. We need to sail the Demon King up or whatever." And the old man's like, "Yeah, I know one. But I only know one, and I can help you with that." And you're like, "Okay, cool." And then he's like, "I'm going to join you, and we'll go figure it out." And I'm like, "Okay." And then it just goes. And it's like, okay, so where's the tunnel at? Now, if you were paying attention, like all the way back in Ribble, people were talking about the strange ancient ruins to the south. And if we went in there, there was a guy just like standing around being like, "I can't get the door open." There's no other indication in this fucking game that that's where you got to go, but that's where you got to go. So we head back to Ribble. And literally just egressed out of there again, which takes you back to Palanca or whatever. And from there, you can take the raft like just straight down, and then it pops you out like right by the shrine. So we go there, and then we have another battle, and once that battle is over with, we get a treasure chest with like a wooden plank, which is important. And we also get to there's a door, and then the old man's like, "Oh, my fucking grandson Petro, he must have sealed it up. What an asshole. Oh well, what you gonna do about it?" And then he leaves. It's like, fuck you. So then we go back to Ribble with the wooden plank, because if you remember, again, like one person had a throwaway line about like opening the door with like a wooden thing, and if you the tree in the middle of the town, if you click on it, it's like, oh, there's like a wooden hole missing. So we put the wooden peg in there, or plank, or whatever you want to call it. And it opens up down into like this another one of these 500 ruins. And inside is a new sword. The arcane sword or something? I can't remember off the top of my head. I didn't write it down in my notes either, unfortunately. So we get that sword, and we give it to Comrade, and then we head south to go to Hamas, or Homas. I don't know. It looked like Hamas to me. It was like Hammos, Hammos. I don't know. Anyway, on the way there, we hit a crossroads in the river, and we get attacked by the monster that Peter says, "Oh, all those people were talking about that monster. We found it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, one person did mention this fucking game. Like there were some monsters that existed in the world." Oh fuck. So we fight the Kraken, and this is the biggest bullshit battle in this game thus far, because we're trapped on this little raft, and you got all these tentacles, which hit really hard, which is not that, I don't care about that. And then there's a Kraken head, but everything's like far away. So we literally just have to skip turns for like 3 or 4 rounds. And like, I'm playing on an emulator, so I'm like, speed this the fuck up. But if you didn't, you just have to like click. It would take like 10 minutes just to get this battle even fucking started. And then even then, it was like one tentacle like meandered its way over, and then I jumped it, and then a couple more came over, and eventually the head was like, "All right, time to party," and it came over, and it died almost immediately. It did kill one of my guys because it attacked like twice in a row, which it never did that again after that point. Like it came up, it like shot a guy, one of my guys went, and then it attacked again, and I was like, "The fuck?" And then I just beat the shit out of it, and I think it might have gotten like one more attack in after that, and I was like, "Oh, that was weird." Anyway, and so onward to Hamas. So once we're in Hassan, we meet Dr. Rhodes. Dr. Rhodes is a cool chap. He's like, "Oh man, get the fuck out of here. I'm like an old pirate looking dude." And we're like, "All right, bye." And then he's like, "Wait a second. Is that the Achilles sword?" "Yeah, it's Achilles sword. I don't know what sword of light or whatever the fuck I was saying was wrong before." And we're like, "Yeah, bro, for sure." And he's like, "That's what you need to get the caravan. Let's go." And we're like, "All right, where are we going?" Once we leave we go left. Left's another big fucking desert area. Fuck you, game. By the way, fuck you so hard. And once we get through this area, we head to the Taros Shrine, and the Taros Shrine has a giant Taros statue, which can only be hurt by the Achilles sword, which I'm not going to lie, this is the first time in a Shining Force game I save scum, because after losing the battle twice, I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to keep coming back here and having this guy crit double attack, fucking the only guy who can do damage to it, so I have to come back here and fight through this whole goddamn level anymore. And my guys are like 20, 21, and so most of these bad guys are giving me like no experience points, like 10 experience points when I kill them. Like, this is a waste of my fucking time, because this guy can only get hit by one dude, and he's like one-shotting my main character, who's like definitely over-leveled, because he's like level 22, and nothing's doing any damage to him but this motherfucker. I mean, I'm not getting like any experience points. Anyway, so we kill that guy, and then Rhodes is like, "Huzzah! We got the caravan!" And he hops in and rides off. And then Peter's like, "Well, I think we got lied to." And then Rhodes comes charging back. He's like, "Nah, I wouldn't lie to you." And it's like, were you listening to our conversation? So now that we have the caravan, we have a mobile guild hall. So in the first game and all the guiding games, you would have guild hall and you'd have like your advisor. This game has no advisor, kind of giving you information, and also doesn't have a guild hall. But now we have the caravan. So the caravan, we can have more than 12 people and we can switch them out and we can finally fucking store items because I'm like over brimming with mithril that I can't use yet, and all these like special promotion items, because there's these items in these games that if you have them equipped to a character when they promote, but it's like a specific item for each promotable class, then you get like the real promotion, which is 100 times better than like the other promotions. So you definitely want to be using those. And I have most of them. I get a few more here coming up. Anyway, so then we take the caravan and we wander around a little bit because I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. And then finally I find a dry riverbed, and the caravan lets us go on the dry riverbed. And the dry riverbed just looks like a normal riverbed, but it's got like stones and shit in it. Oh, also we head back to Hassan before we discover the riverbed, and there's a dude there, Rick, I want to say, who's another knight, and he's like, "Oh, bros, what up? That's your caravan? That's cool. I'm going to join you guys." I'm like, "Awesome, another knight, finally." And he's level 19, which is higher than Chester, who I try as I might. These fucking desert levels do not allow him to move at all. And so he's level 18 and almost 19, but most of my guys are over 20 at this point, and it's like he's very far behind. So Rick's not that much far behind. So I just need to spend some time, because at some point when I promote these guys, they turn into like Pegasus Knights, which is great because now they can fly. Okay. So fucking good. So then we use the caravan, we find a Dwarven cave, and inside the cave they're like, "Oh no, there's a landslide and someone's trapped behind it, and that guy trapped behind it is the guy who could dig the cave out, so I guess we're fucked." And then there's another guy over here who's like collapsed on the ground, and he's like all tired, and the guy's like, his homie's like, "We need to find a ferry so we can rescue this guy." And we're like, "We got it. I know exactly where ferry's at, but if I go back to where the ferry's supposed to be, she won't do shit, because fuck you, game." Anyway, I love this game, by the way. I know I'm getting kind of harsh, but I've just juiced up after being at work all day. Seriously, go fuck yourself, game. Such poor design. Still excellent in all the ways that matters. So then we sneak our way over down into the left from the dwarf town, and we enter the, I don't know, fairy town? The guide I'm using calls it the Elven town, but there's no elves. And they just mention like, "Oh yeah, there's a fairy here and she can get you to Creed's Manor, but she's gone. And then you just gotta find Alec. Alec can help you." And I'm like, "Who the fuck's Alec?" I don't know, but several people mentioned him. Anyway, we get some more mithril here, of course. Of course you get fucking so much mithril. And then we find a secret battle area, and I get instantly killed immediately. And I was like, yes, I'm going to come back here and try to level up a little bit. Because sometimes when you just hit guys who are much higher level than you get like a lot of fucking experience points. This might be like a quick and easy way to just like pour levels onto myself. But we shall see. So we beat back this first wave of monsters on our way to the Devil's Tail. It's another desert level. Fuck you, game. It's not nearly as bad. So the desert levels in Shining Force 1 were such a slog. Even running at like full speed or like triple speed or whatever I was doing, it was just like a slow grind to get through these things. Here it's less that. It's still pretty bad. I don't know if it's just I have more flying and such creatures that like it doesn't seem as bad, or people just aren't as affected by terrain like Kiwi. But yeah. That's all there's to say about that. We get to the other side and we find a pond, and we're trying to look around for like the secret entrance to the Devil's Tail, and Adler hears something. He's like, "Oh, I hear something." And you're like, "Oh yeah, what's that?" He's like, "I don't know, come on, someone needs help." And so we run into like this pond, which ends up being like a harpy pond, and there's Elric. He's an archer. He's the guy who's like the elf who's friends with the fairy. We don't learn all that right now, but that's why he's like trapped in the muck, and the harpies are trying to get to him. So it's up to us to defeat them. So I grind out a little bit here. I'm getting to like level 25, 26 at this point, and like I was considering getting to level 30, but I'm getting kind of like fed up because like it's taking forever to kill things, and I'm doing like very, very little damage. That's the same thing, and I'm getting very little experience is what I meant. Anyway, so we were able to get through here, and then we find the secret passage. Oh no, then Elric shows us the secret passage. We head through the secret passages. There's like secret passages within the secret passage, and there's like more secret passages within there. It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so we get through there. We get to the Devil's Tail. We fight another kind of battle. It's like the it's like Creed's goons. They're just some guys who are like, wait, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And you're like, we're here to see Creed. And he's like, no, you don't. And so we kill all them, and then we head inside to Creed's manor. And when we're in there, we see this guy Goliath. He's like talking to Creed, and then he comes, and Creed's got the fairy with him. Not captured, they're just like chit-chatting. And Goliath comes out, and he's like, doing chores. And then we're like, hey, we need to see Creed. And he's like, no, go fuck yourselves. And we're like, come on, let us in there. And they're like, nope, get out of here, you scamps. And we're like, we'll just go through that door. And it's Adler, who is being strangely aggressive at this point. He's like, no, let's bust through that door. And Peter's like, the fuck? It's like, you're being aggressive, but I agree, let's do it. And so we go through this door, Goliath is like, wait, no. And as we open the door, it miniaturizes us. And he's like, well, fuck you guys. So he picks us up, and he's like, he's giggling to himself, and he puts us on a table in another room. So now we're mini people. So we're in the mini people. We meet like some randos. We meet a couple guys who clearly can join the Shining Force at some point. And then King Pompeo, yeah, right, Pompeo. Pompey or something like that. Anyway, he's nice, I guess. He's like, yeah, you guys can totally get off the table. And there's like a passage on the floor that leads to Creed's main room. But first, you got to beat me at like chess. So we play this chess battle. And fuck this battle. Fuck it. It's terrible. I think this is where I yeah, at this point I was like, all right, I've had enough of this shit. So then I got people like 25, 26, and then I started promoting people across the board. The only person I didn't promote was Chester, who's my knight, because I don't have the thing to turn him into like a Pegasus knight yet, and I'm not going to waste him just being like a regular old fucking knight, because like mobility and speed are much more important than like actual damage, to be completely honest, in these games. And I'm not sacrificing that much damage to have him, even though Knight's not that good. But so we're just gonna keep him around and keep leveling him up and just keep him fucking around and do shit until he fucking we get that Pegasus feather or whatever the hell it is later on. We got everything else though. We turned Sarah into a Master Monk. We turned Jaha into a Baron or something. We're gonna get rid of him eventually, but that's fine. And everyone else just like straight up promotes. So, oh no, we turned Kaizen into a Sorcerer, which is a Summoner. He's a Summoner, and the Summoner is badass. So that's pretty good. Let me think. Yeah, he uses a book of some sort. Okay, I think that's everybody. So once we get everybody leveled up and promoted, which I made a slight misjudgment, because Slade now can only use swords as a ninja from a thief instead of daggers, and I have no extra swords to give him. So I guess he's fucked. He just does no damage. Once we get him a sword, I'll catch him up on levels, but at this point it's like, well, oh well. And then we don't have any gloves either. And unlike in the first game where you can just like punch real hard with Gong, you have to have gloves to like, you have to have a weapon for these monks to actually do something. So Sarah's also not doing any damage, which is not a big deal. She's got so much healing action to do. Finally, we beat the king in this chess thing, which was still difficult even after promoting and such, just because he has like, there's like 4 casters. They're all, the problem is they're all like together. Like the whole, there's lined up kind of like a chessboard sort of, but there's like 3 queens, and then once you get kind of close, they all merge on you at one time. So it's like you just got to go for the king real hard and hope he doesn't get healed by like the 2 healers that have like long range healing. So it just took a minute to get through that. That is hands down the worst battle in any of these Shining Force games I've played thus far. Once we beat that, we get the cotton balloon, which is just like a cotton swab or something. Anyway, the king's like, thanks, good job, good, see you later. So we take that, we float down to the ground, we meet like the Kingdom of the Floor, which is just some guys who left the Kingdom of the Table, and they're like, fuck that king. And then a guy who's trying to steal a ring off the ground, but he's like, this is too heavy, oh well. And someone's like, you better not go in there and fight those rats. Man, those rats were bitches. I like them up real good. We go kill the rats, we kill the slimes that are in there with them. All of my promoted guys are like level 3 or whatever. Chester's sitting at like 27. Oh, no, we're not there yet. Okay, sorry. I was getting my actions messed up. Anyway, so then we head inside. Once we're inside Creed's room, we get like his point of view. He's talking to Goliath, and he's like, hey, what happened out there? And he's like, oh, some people showed up, and they tried to go through the door. And he's like, motherfucker, I told you to seal that door. Why was it unlocked? Go fix that problem. Go find those people. I want to talk to them. And Goliath was like, okay. And he's like, man, that motherfucker. And then you hear Peter being like, hey, squawk, squawk. And Creed's like, what the hell? And he's like, oh, hey, it's you guys. What's up? And Peter's like, make us big so we can talk to you face to face. And Creed's like, why would I do that? And he's like, man, just fucking do it. We got stuff about Zenith. And he's like, oh, Zenith, yeah. So they like are sass-mouthing each other back and forth before Creed turns us big. And then we like talk more about Zenith. The fairy's there. We go back and forth, talk about like the demon and Grand Seal, and tell him the whole story about everything that's been going on. And he's like very concerned, worried about all that. And he's like, well, let's go talk to, I got somebody on the inside who can like give us some information. So we all head down into his like evil lair, what else to call it? It's got like magma rivers and like it's dark. And we go to like this crazy altar that looks like where the boss from Dragon Quest Forest fought. And he's like, I'm gonna summon the evil spirit. And you're like, what the hell is happening here? God damn. All right, do it. So you summon this big creepy face. And the face is like, oh, how can I help you, Creed? And Creed's like, hey, go check Grand's Isle and see if Zenos is awakened or whatever. And he's like, I can't, there's a barrier. And he's like, that's very interesting. And then Creed tells us that there's like a drought in the north of Parmesia. We're in the south of Parmesia. And that there's a crazy fog over the whole island of Grand Seal. And then the evil spirit's like, well, if I had something as Zenos's, I could break through his barrier. And they're like, oh. And then Peter's like, hey, you got that evil jewel, right? And Creed's like, you got what? Oh, give me that. And he tries to take it off our neck, and he's like, I can't take it off. Oh, well, just go up there and have him touch it. So go up there and have the face touch our chest, or wherever this ring's supposed to be, or this jewel's supposed to be. And he's like, got it, I'm good. And he's like, oh, I see Zenos is awake. He sent an army, a huge army over to North Parmesia. They're going to attack. And someone's like, oh, the goddess Betula from like Final Conflict is she must be sick or in trouble or something. And then Evil Spirit's like, hold up, something bad's happening. And then Zenos takes over, and we see his face, and he looks all jacked up as hell, and he's like, I'm the Devil King, what are you doing? And Creed's like, get out of here, you scamp. And Zenos is like, hell no, wait, who are you? You got the evil jewel? Bring it to me, I'm at, like, the Valley of Ark. And then, well, I'll take it from you, and fuck you, and I'm gonna kill you too. Bye. And then he blows up Evil Spirit, and Creed's like, oh no, Evil Spirit's dead, he got blown up. Nah, what you gonna do? And so... we all head back upstairs, and Creed's like, I have to think about this more. Go to Tristan, they might know more about... The scholars there might know more about the evil jewel. Bye. And they're like, oh, okay. And the fairy's like, oh, there's a sick dwarf? I'll come with you. And so she comes with us to fix the sick dwarf, if you remember, all the way back there. I remembered. And then as we leave, Goliath is like, hey, sorry about that. You can take one of these 4 people to join your team. The rest of them are going to stay in, like, miniaturized prison. And I'm like, the healer, thank you very much. Now I have 2 healers. And it's, I don't know, like halfway through the game or something. So that's great. We got Kurna. She's really good. She gets aura later on, and then we turn her into a monk, and then she can kick ass and heal exceptionally well. So best class in the game, Master Monk. Okay, so then we switch. Who do we kick out? I think we kick May out at this point, maybe. I don't know. We start kicking the people we're not going to use at the end of the game out because fuck them. At this point, we head back to the dwarfs. The dwarfs they're like, oh no, he's dead, what can we do? And the fairy's like, well, give me a sec. And she's like, killed him, he's good. And they're like, yay, thank you so much. Now we can finally dig our tunnel all the way to Grand Seal. And you're like, oh cool, they're doing that. That'll help me later, I'm sure. And the fairy's like, all right, peace out. And then one of the dwarfs is like, hey, we don't need this anymore, have it. And it's like a cannon, like a fucking cannon from like a pirate ship. We're like, cool, thanks. Now that we have all this information and we've talked to everybody we possibly could, it's time to return to New Grand Seal. So we do, we head back. Everyone's like, hey, welcome back, things are great. The weapon shop here is upgraded, so finally we can buy like a power glove for Sarah, and we can buy all new weapons for everybody, except Chester, because he's not promoted yet. He's in like 27 at this point. Karna's at 24 at this point? Yeah, I think so. So we'll just keep leveling her up, because I'm going to wait till I get another Vigor Ball, which will turn her into a Master Monk, which will be good. So we'll just keep healing. She's easy to level, because she just heals and boosts. And boost is great, because sometimes boost gives you 20 experience points. It's fantastic. Which is way more than just healing people. Alright, so then we go talk to everybody. We tell them the whole story, and the screen turns like sepia instead of black and white, and it's like the recollection of all our adventures over the last, I don't know, year or whatever. We've been traveling all over this southern part of this continent. And the king's like very relieved because we find out from Evil Spirit we find out from Zenos that Ellis, the princess, is still alive. So that makes the king very happy, and he's like over the moon about it. So Sir Astro's like, hey, I'm gonna go help Shining Force, see you later. The king's like, yeah, get out of here, you scamp. And then Sir Astro literally says, Sir Astro winks at the Chamberlain, or the whatever his name is, and the guy's like nods, and I'm like, the fuck? What is that? Anyway, so he comes, which is good, because soon we're gonna get Rhodes to actually join our team, and he's like a tank, which is awesome. And okay. And he starts off at like 4 promoted, because the tank class is like a promotion class for like archers if you use like a silver tank or something. Which I won't, because all the archers in this game are shit except Road. Let's see. What do we do next? Oh, okay, so then it's like, all right, cool. Well, let's go to that northern passage so we can get to northern Parmesia and like help those people out. So we get over there, we fight a battle, and then I go to like use the cannon on the caved-in entrance from like way long ago, like over a year ago, in game turns, if not multiple years. And as soon as we set up the cannon, Sir Astro like screams at us. He's like, "You dumb motherfucker! Why didn't you get the dynamite?" And I was like, fucking dynamite. And it's funny because our character turns small because he's like ashamed of it. He's like, I am ashamed that I picked up the dynamite. And I was like, I don't remember this dynamite ever coming up, but okay. So we head back to Grand Sill and we find the dynamite. It's just some guy standing by the weapon shop, has dynamite. So we're like, cool, thanks, brother. So we get the dynamite, then we wander back over and we blow open the tunnel. We head through the tunnel. It's a dark tunnel. We're gonna find another battle here. Fuck that noise. Oh, right, and right before we do, as soon as we use the cannon, Road comes out and he's like, oh, fucking cannon, this is awesome. I'm gonna like make a little tank, and then I can join you guys, and Sir Astral can be your advisor and drive the caravan. And so we make like a switcheroo, and then I kicked Mad at this point. I can't remember who else I kicked out for Karna. Oh, I kicked out the other knights, and I just have Chester. So that's good. Okay. So yeah, so then we fight our way through the cavern, and then we pop out, and there's like a little town, Keto. Northern Parmesia, where you get Keto. So in Keto, there's all these fun signs, and they're from like the Devil Army, and they're like, you better not run your shop, you better not go to church, you better not leave your place, fuck you. And then, you know, we can find the priest and we can heal and go to church for resurrections and stuff, and then we can also find the weapon shop owner, and he's just chilling on an island in the back of the town, and he's like, you're a customer? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, fuck those devils, let's go. And so he goes and like opens up the shop with his wife, and he doesn't have anything to sell us because the only thing he sells us is a javelin, which Chester can't use because he still is not promotable. So he's still shit, and he's just going to be picking up like 1 or 2 hit point guys at the end to keep leveling up so he can have higher stats when he finally turns to Pegasus Knight. Good for him and Karna. All right. We then leave Keto and immediately see some jabroni knight guy and his 2 goons. They're talking to the devil guy who knocked the king out at the very beginning of the game. We got his name here. I don't remember it off the top of my head, and I didn't write it down. So it'll come up later, I'm sure. But he's like all sneaky. He can like teleport around, and he's like mocking the knights of Polka or whatever, and tell them they're shit and they're cowards. And then he kills 2 goons, and then the one knight's like, why are you saving me? Why aren't you killing me like the rest of them? And the guy's like, ooh, and then he summons one of those like possession spirits that like got the king of Gollum, and he possesses the knight, and he collapses. At that point, Sir Astral's like, hey, fuck you doing? And then the demon's like, uh-oh, I'm out of here. You guys take care of these assholes. And so he nopes out, and then we begin the battle. So after defeating the devils and rescuing Higgins, he like wakes up, and I guess we just Sir Astral knocks the evil spirit out of him, so he's not possessed anymore. And he's like, "Oh, thank goodness, the devils! Oh, they're so terrible. We were headed to South Parmesia to see if we could get some assistance, and you guys showed up, so that's great. So I'm going to join you now, and it should be great." We then head to Parmesia, the actual capital, and it's like a centaur capital, and there's really not much to do here. We'd like chit chat with people, including like the king, I guess. He's in like a throne room with like a big carpet, but I guess he doesn't have a throne because he's a centaur, so he's just chilling. Anyway, we have to find the Pegasus wing, which is another one of these like real bullshit kind of hidden items. It's literally like there's a carpet in the throne room, and you follow like the carpet to like a wall past where the carpet ends. And then you search like a random wall, essentially. Like, why would I ever do that? At least give me some hints. At least be like, oh yeah, there's like a Pegasus wing around by the carpet. So I know like, okay, and somewhere in this area I can like search and find this bullshit. But nope, it's just random. So we use that on Chester and make him the Pegasus Knight, which is 1,000 times better than what he was doing before. And he actually becomes useful because he can move around and he does like significantly more damage. So that was definitely a good call. We also get some more mithril. So much. I'm assuming at some point, I don't remember ever using this before when I beat this game, but I'm assuming there's somewhere where we can use all this to make the best weapons in the game, would be my assumption. So north of here is Tristan. So we head north. We got to pound our way through the mountain range. When I say pound, I literally mean pound because we've run into another battle. And then after that's over, we find another piece of mithril. Again, kind of like less randomly placed. There's like a peak where the mountains like are a big part, and then they come down to like one spot, and if we search that one spot, there's mithril. So if you're just kind of like keeping an eye out for like things that may have stuff that you can search, this is like one of those areas that you would stumble upon, I guess, if you're being like very thorough with like your investigations. Next up is a bridge. We get to the bridge, and Sir Astral's like, oh no, there's a girl on the bridge and she needs help, and there's like these flower things eating through them, so we're gonna go save her. So we kill all them. The the flowers actually hit like real fucking hard. Like Kiwi, who normally takes 1 point of damage from everything, takes like half his hit points from one of these things. Like they're really pounding hard on this thing. Once we defeat all of them and we rescue the girl, we find out that dun dun dun, she's actually Camila. Now you may say, who is Camila? Or Camila? And Camila is a general in Zeon's army, and she's like, ooh, I want the evil jewel. And then Astral hits her with a fireball. She dodges it. Sir Astral makes some other comment. She's like, all right, I'll come get it later. Bye. Because Sir Astral's like, no, we're literally taking the jewel to Zeon. Why are you trying to stop us? And she's like, I want it for myself. And then he's like, that's funny. It seems like all these generals are like not on the same page with each other, and also that they're not necessarily following Zenus's guidance completely, which is true. But this is the first we kind of get like a hint at like, you know, it's the whole thing with like light and darkness where like the evil will turn upon itself and kind of devour itself, which makes it easier to defeat, even though sometimes because of their cruel ways and no morals, they will like sink to no depths of depravity, or they'll sink to all depths of depravity to win, which makes them a stronger, more powerful force. But then because of the depravity, like people are not loyal and they don't have the power of friendship, which is important. All right. So from the bridge, we head up to Tristan. Everything seems fine until we get to the shrine. And then there's some priest guy, and he's like, oh, no, you can't come in here. No one can come in here. And we're like, no, we're coming in there. We got to talk to Matula and talk to the readers or whatever. And he's like, nope, nope, nope. And then Peter's like, fuck it, let's go. And so we push, and he's like, bah! And he like teleports out, and then he's actually a devil. And they're all devils, and there's devils in the shrine. So we got to kill all the devils in the shrine. Oh, goodness. And that we find out they're holding Matula hostage, and in the center, so that's like actually he stops us from like the road to the shrine. Once we get like to the shrine, we meet I want to say like Zephos, and Zephos is another one of these generals, and he's another asshole, and he's the one who's like keeping Matula under check. So we got to kill him to rescue her, and he is super easy to kill. So we just walk up and beat his ass in. He does have some bolt magic, which is always terrible because it's like the huge cross action, but really no challenge. Oh, I was gonna say something happens before then. So there's like a moment before we enter the shrine where Sir Astral just is like thinking about shit. Oh, that's right. He's thinking about Adler. He's like, Adler, huh? Creed, huh? Someone attacked Volcanon, huh? And then Peter's like, hey, wake the fuck up. We're gonna go kill this guy. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'm coming. So at this point, if you haven't figured out, Adler is not our friend. But we'll find out more about that later. So after Zalbud goes down, he complains about being a weak ass. Why am I so weak? Why are you so strong? God damn it. And then Matula shows up, and she is very cryptic. You stupid old hag. No, she's like a beautiful woman. But she's very cryptic about everything. She's like, oh yes, the 2 and the 3 must enter the gems of the eye or some bullshit. And you're like, okay. But we find out that the Arc Valley is the tower... is like the Grand Seal Tower, and that Grand Seal literally translates into Ground Seal. God damn it, game. And that it was crafted to seal Zeon like ages ago, and that we can learn more by talking to the readers who are in the shrine somewhere. She also mentions that Comrade is the chosen one, and that he needs to get a holy sword so that he can defeat Zeon and Seal, and she mentions that Zeon, in his full strength, is more powerful than Volcanon and Matula, but that he's not at his full strength yet, so we need to go kind of figure that out. So stop him before he does. And then she's like, all right, well, good luck. Bye. Cool. So in the shrine, first thing we do is we meet Taya. Taya is the last member of our team that we're going to add. She is another sorceress. Like, we converted Kazin, and Kazin's the mage we started the game with, essentially. Well, we get him, like, pretty quick. And sorcery is the way to go in this game. You're a summoner, and the summoning is fucking fantastic. You got to be a little close. So if you're scared of being close, I guess you could be a mage, and then some of those like freeze 3, 4 spells will go further. But this stuff does so much fucking damage. Like they're like one-shotting guys. Like it's so ridiculous. Anyway, so she joins, and that's awesome. And she's already level like 12 post like promotion. So she's like caught up with everybody because we're all like 12, 13, 14 at this point. And we kick out Jaha. Adios, amigos. We also learned that we need to go to... She mentions that we need to go to Nazca and that we can get a ship in Nazca, and that will take us back to Grands. All right, so then on the other side of the aisle of the shrine, on the the flip side of the church or whatever, shrine or whatever, is the readers, and they're just statues. And so we learn a kind of a fun story. We learn that there were 3 devil kings. There was Dark Dragon, there was Xeon, and there was Dark Soul, which is interesting, just based on the story from the first game. But and then I guess what's his name, Yam, had nothing to do with this. Obviously, Gaiden took place was made way after these games, but chronologically we already played it, so it's kind of funny when you play it in a chronological fashion. It's like, and what about that guy? It's like, fuck that guy, he's nothing. You're like, okay. I feel like Yam should have been the other devil king, but it makes more sense. Anyway, so, but that Xeon was more powerful, and so Dark Dragon and Dark Soul created the evil gem to seal Xeon, and then they're the ones who sealed him. But at the same time, there was a god of light or god of wisdom, and he created the life jewel, which is the other jewel that we have embedded in our chest, and the holy sword. They gave it to a hero, the chosen one, who would arise once Xeon comes back, which is what we're doing right now, and that we're going to go and take care of that. And that Moan, that town we need to get to that Freya has locked up, is important for reasons. It ends up being not that important. We do go through it, but yeah, there you go. All right, so, all right, as we're leaving the shrine at this point, so we got Taya, then that baby bird we saved all the way back then, apparently is a girl, and apparently she's all grown up already, and she's Screech, and she wants to join us, and she's already promoted and pretty high level. But we have enough, we have our team, we're not going to switch it out, so she can adios out of here. So she just goes back into the caravan for the rest of the game. Oh, goodness. So then we finally we head back to Pakalon or Parmesan. Or no, it is Pakalon. That's the castle. I said it wrong earlier. And there, Freya, we finally convince him that, hey, we need to get going. We need to get to the Nazca Alliance. Can you please unlock Moan for us? And he's like, yeah, I don't want the devils to get in there. That's why I had it locked. So hopefully there's some survivors and we can go save them. So let's go. And so we head out, and Gisep. Oh, when we're walking out of the town, we get Gisep, who's the guy who froze the king at the very beginning of the game, and he's been kind of an asshole around. And then Camilla, and they're getting into a fight because Gisep's like, hey, I order you to stop them. And Camilla's like, go fuck yourselves. You can use my army, but I'm out. And she leaves, and he's like, oh, you darn kids. So we kill them to get out of Pakalon, and because they're trying to get the key from Freya. Which doesn't seem to matter, because they, even with or without the key, we get to Moan, and there's demons already there. And it's like, aha, it's a trap! And it's like, okay. And Gisep again is like, aha, I got you! Adios! And then he leaves. So we kill everybody in Moan, and then when everyone's sad, because oh no, the devils kill all the people in Moan, what are we gonna do? It's so sad. And then this guy, Zinc, pops out of the ground, and he had the stone covering a stairway where he hid everybody from the devils. And so everybody's fine, or at least, there's tons of survivors and stuff. Oh yeah, before we fight in the city of Moan, I forgot, we egressed out of there, and we headed back to Creed's mansion. And when we get to Creed's mansion, we find Goliath, and he's sobbing and crying like a little bitch. And he's like, oh, my master, Adler started acting real crazy and doing weird stuff. And so Creed threw themselves into the ocean, and now he's gone forever, and it's just me, and I'm so sad. And then all those other 3 guys, we had the choice to choose. We can pick them up now, which I do, just, I like to have a nice, cozy, warm caravan with all the people hanging out, having a good time. These guys are so underleveled at this point. There's absolutely no reason to have them in your party. They're all sitting around level 24 unpromoted. So then you'd have to promote them and then build them all the way up to 14, 15, 16 is where my guys are at now. Anyway, back to Zinc. So Zinc lets us in. We talk to the people. They're so grateful for him, and they're so happy. And then we meet Gaian. Gaian's a gladiator, which is kind of you can be a baron or a gladiator after you promote from warrior. And he's like, oh man, I was trapped up here because of that cave-in. So he's been trapped here for over a year, because that cave-in happened a while ago. So he's been trapped here forever. And he's like, I miss my family. My family's from Ribble or some bullshit. And I just want to get back home and hang out with my family. And you're like, cool. And he's like, what are you guys doing? We're going to kill devils. And he's like, no, let's go kill devils. And then we're like, what about your family? And he's like, fuck those guys. Let's go. I guess it's been a year or 2 or more since he's been home. So I guess, probably think he's dead. So fuck it, I guess, whatever. Oh goodness. We also hear about the golem arm, and then if we search around, we find it and we pick it up and we take it with us. I'm sure that'll summon another person that'll go straight into the caravan for us later on, but it's fun. They also talk about the Nazca Alliance, which is fun because they're next door. So once we get to the lines, we catch Camila and G-Sep fighting again. And G-Sep's demanding she listen to him, and she's like, go fuck yourself and do what I want. And he's like, whatever, good luck, fuck you. And she's like, go fuck yourself. And then we show up, and they're like, oh, and she's like, oh, hey, cool, I'm going to kill you now. And so we fight, and she taunts and taunts, but she goes down surprisingly easily as well. So much for her fucking taunting. And then right when she's like, all right, here, take the sky herb that'll help you fly Nazca, and then let me tell you a secret. G-Sep has these like prism flowers, and then she gets struck with lightning and burned to death. And we're like, aghast. This evil enemy that we killed that was literally dying is dead. And then G-Sep's like, no secrets for you, motherfuckers. Come see us in Grand's Isle. And we're like, okay. So then we head inside the Nazca ship, and it's super cool, and Zayzik like flies us back to Grand's. At that point, we take a little detour to Zeno, and Zeno's is talking to G-Sep, and G-Sep's like, let me take Odd Eye from Final Conflict. Cool, he's here. That's right, he loves Zeon. So let me take Odd Eye, and we're gonna go fight these guys. And Zeon's like, no, take the Red Baron instead and use the prism flowers, that's fine. So then G-Sep goes, and we see his whole like crew with like their prism flowers, and the prism flowers are just like howitzers or whatever. They're like anti-air. What do they call those things? They're like flat cannons. And so they boom, 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 like laser shoot us. They shoot the thing. The ship doesn't blow up, but it's like falling. And Zink's able to like crash land it, so everyone's safe. And Astral's like stunned. He's like, we gotta get out of here right now before the devils come. Run! And he runs off, and everyone else is like, oh, my stars and garters, like literally. Like they say everybody says some like random bullshit because we have our whole crew just sitting around in here. So we leave, and everyone's fine. Everyone's doing great. Oh, we also find out Zayzik finally joins, and he's like, we're like, who are you? What do you do? And he's clearly like a machine, so he's like Adam, or like related to Adam somehow. Maybe he's Chaos. That'd be fun. But he's wearing like a really like janky mask, and then he's like, I'm from a time long ago. I think it just says he's from the past, but it's still cryptic as shit. So we head out, and we find a what do you call it? We found like a dojo where they're like practicing dojo stuff. So the dojo doesn't have much, but it has very important things that I really, really, really want. Like the second Vigor Ball, so I can finally turn Karna, who's like level 40 at this fucking point. She's max pre-promotion, so she's going to immediately start kicking ass. But so we promote her to Master Monk using that. We pick up some more Mithril, which is important soon, hopefully, as we're nearing the end of the game. And then we can pick up Sheena. Sheena, I think that's what her name is. Or Sheila. Sheila's great. She is bathing naked in the back behind the dojo in like a waterfall. And Sir Astral's like, oh, you guys gotta look away. You don't want to be looking at this beautiful woman. And then she's like, hey, the fuck you guys doing? And like, sorry, we came back here by accident. And she's like, wait, Astral? And he's like, Sheila? We find out that Sheila was his old like pupil, and that at some point he like touched her in the back to like get her attention, and she like kicked him so hard it like left a scar that still exists. And he's like, the fuck are you doing here? I thought you were trying to be a priest. And she's like, I was, but then like my fiance got killed by the Red Baron, and so I was like, fuck the Devil Army, and so I came here to train and become a Master Monk. And you could use her if you want, but I already got 2 Master Monks, and one was promoted to level 40, so she just, to the caravan with you. Oh man. So we head forward, and Jessup's like, oh, fuck you guys, you're still alive? Fuck you. Or like, hey, you want to fight? And he's like, nope. And so he leaves, and he leaves his army. So we kill them, and we head to Roft. In Roft, we find Petro. Petro is the son or the grandson of that guy who's going to get us over here much, much earlier, and it's good he didn't because we would have got destroyed. But now we're at an equivalent level where it's important for us to do that. So thank you, I guess. Anyway, we don't talk to him. We walk into a room, and there's like 2 kids there, and they're like, oh, Mr. Petro, you're never going to take us to wherever, something. He's like, no, I'm dead. Those devils killed me. Fuck them. And they're like, yeah, fuck them. And they're like, oh, that's sad, I guess. I don't really care. And so I walk out, and or he mentions like there's a shrine to the south that'll get us back to Parmesia, which we could use if we want. There's really no reason. I'm using a guide, so I got everything I needed. But if you really need to, we're going to go there to get the golem. But yeah, just to put in my caravan, my collection of fine things. But after we walk out of Petro's like death seance or whatever, Zink is like, oh, I'm gonna disable my no kill mode, and now I can join you and I can fight. And you're like, cool, to the caravan with you. Oh goodness. We also learned about Dwarven Smiths, who can work with Mithril, and that they're in the Grand's Forest. Good. So at this point, we can go north and keep going, or we can go south and find this shrine that Petro was talking about before he died. So we do that. We head down there. We find the golem, and he's like, oh, if only I had my fucking arm. And I'm like, I have it right here. And he's like, hooray, I'll join you. And he joins us, and then he goes right to the caravan, and we leave. Then we head north, and we follow like some passages around, and eventually we get to the Prison Flowers, and Jeff's there again. He's like, oh, my Prison Flower is going to fuck you up real good. And after I get hit by them a couple times, I'm like, how did this destroy the ship? That ship must have been flimsy as, like, paper. Like, these guys do, like, virtually no damage. It's like my characters have, like, up to, like, 100 hit points at this point. Some of them do. Some of them are, like, 80, 90 hit points. Some of them are down still, like, 60 range. But still, they do, like, 10 hit points. So it's like, eh. They do that stupid fucking thing that I hate from, like, the first game, where they'll shoot, like, a long range and hit everything in the path. And it's like, oh, I hate this mechanic so much. Especially because there's a lot of Prison Flowers. So again, it's like one of those things where it's like, you could be very cautious and go very slow, or you can just YOLO it and take damage. And for this, it's like, YOLO it. The Prison Flower or whatever from the first game, that thing did a lot more damage at the level I was at when you get there. And it was like, it hit like 3 squares worth of stuff. That thing was an asshole. Anyway, so we crush through here, kill all the flowers, which, you know, pisses off Jeff's. He's like, I'm going to get you next time. And he leaves. Okay, bro. And so we head out and immediately go, we don't immediately, we like walk to the next area. And then we get to the next battle with Jeff, where again, he summons the Red Baron, who is clearly Lemon from the beginning of the game, if you haven't figured it out thus far. But yep, that's him. And then he nopes out again. He's like, all right, take care of this, bye, motherfuckers. And then the Red Baron's like, murr, 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 murr. So we wander through there. We kill him. At that point, Lemon like wakes up and realizes, he's like, oh, Sir Astro, how's it been? I've been in a terrible nightmare. I feel like I was killing tons of people. And Astro's like, hey, bro. Grabs his shoulder, pats him on the head. Yeah, you've been doing that. That's not a nightmare. And then the Red Baron's like, or Lemon's like, no! Why, God? Why? And he like runs off. And then Peter's like, should we go help him? And Astro's like, oh, no, it's cool, man. He's a vampire now, so he can't die. So he'll be fine. And I was like, maybe we should still check up on him? What the fuck? Poor guy. I'm not going to use him, but I wonder if like he just gains hit points from attacking. That's cool. That's good. I like my party the way it's at. I'd consider maybe getting rid of Gestalt. He's been much more of a disappointment than the Zayak guy from the first game, the other werewolf character. But yeah, whatever. He's fine. He does a lot of damage. So that's good. Okay. All right, so cool. So at this point, we used that dry stone we got all the way back with the dwarfs who were creating the passageway to get here. There, and we searched the fire and we got mithril and some dry stone. I think we got both. And we used that. There's a little indent in the river up here by like a little like hidden forest town, and that lets us cross the path and enter the Dwarven town. Hooray! We found it finally. The dwarf village doesn't have much. What it does have is the blacksmith, so we can finally turn the mithril into good items. And when I say good items, it also turns the mithril into shitty items. So there was a lot of save state resetting. It took me about an hour using, the speed hack, I can't remember what it's called, frame skip, along with save stating to get all the best items for all my characters. So I got the ninja, his best item with Slade. I got the hero. I don't know if it's the best item in the game. They'll probably pick up like a force sword or yeah, I think it's a force sword. That's what Final Conflict called it. But it's this Levanter sword that casts Blaze 3, which is pretty radical. And the best bullet, the best gloves for my monks, a pretty good sword for the bird guy. And I think that's it. Oh, no, and then some staffs. There's like these miracle or mystery staffs or whatever they're called that they restore MP every turn, so I get those to my sorcerers. I don't think it's a lot. If I remember correctly, it's like 1 or 2 per turn. And like their spells cost like 15, so but it might give me an extra like spell usage at some point, which will be helpful against the final boss, which I'm pretty sure we're getting close there. I'm pretty sure we like killed Jeps and then Odd Eye, and then it's like then the final boss, right? So maybe there's like 3 or 4 more battles. Anyway, yep, so that's Dwarf Village. Nothing much to talk about there. So we're back at Gollum. Yes, we have returned, finally. And we find out that Lemon has been trying to kill himself. He's trying to off himself, but to no avail because he's a vampire, as Astral reminds us. We also hear about a spooky piano in the city of Yale, and that there's a demon's head statue that's appeared near the the Arc Valley, the Great Crater. They stopped calling it the Arc Valley at some point, but that's like the big hole by the Grand Sill Tower and all that. So yeah, there it is. It's over there. Next, on our way out, we switch to Jessup, or Gesp, and he's talking to Xeon, and Xeon's like, "Hey, motherfucker, what the fuck? I told you to kill that guy. Do it. Go do it, or you're gonna be in a lot of trouble." And Jessup was like, Yeah, I got it. I'm going. And then he leaves, and right after he leaves, Odd Eye shows up, and he's like, "Told you so." And Xeon's like, "You were right. I apologize." And he's like, "Odd Eye, will you please go kill this motherfucker? I'm tired of this shit, and get my jewel back." And Odd Eye's like, "Yep, will do. I told you he was going to make it all the way here. He's a lot stronger than you people think." And he's like, "What do you mean, you people?" "Don't worry, Xeon. This will be the last. My battle with Comrade will be the last battle he'll ever face." Back to Comrade. We are walking out of Gollum, and we get confronted by Jess. And he tells you, "I will kill you. I will kill you all. You are all dead." So we beat the shit out of him. And then he whines a lot. He wanders around. He's like, "Oh, Sai is me. Fine, kill me." And we're like, "We don't want to kill you. You're powerless for some reason. You know, I don't get it." But we beat him up so hard, he lost all his powers. So then he's like, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for forgiving me and whatever." And then Astral's like, yeah, whatever. Get the fuck out of here. And so he starts to leave. And then Xeon surrounds him with fire and is like, "Hey, motherfucker, I told you what was going to happen if you fail." And then he kills him. And then Astral and Peter are like, "Damn, well, what you going to do?" And one of them's like, "Yep, Xeon's not the guy you want to work for. He's kind of an asshole." So we head to Yale, and we find Lemon there, and he jumps off a cliff to kill himself. And we go check the hole where he jumped off, and he pops out. He's like, "I wish I could die." And then, Astral's like, "You can't die. You're an immortal vampire now. Enjoy." And Lemon's like, "Aw, shucks." So then we track down this mysterious piano that's playing haunting melodies, and we play it, and we're like, "Yep, we hear something open." So then we head. Well, I actually just wandered around for a bit. When we pop into the church, there's a priest standing there, and he's like, "The power of Christ compel thee. Leave, devils, power of Christ," or whatever. And then Astral or Peter or somebody's like, "We're not devils. That's not going to do anything." And, "Oh, the power of Christ!" And like, "All right. Cool, sounds good." And then after that goes on for a minute, Chaz, right, rad name, shows up, and Chaz is the son of Howl, the guy from Final Conflict that we didn't use because he sucked, but also he became a scholar and he died, and he's Kezin, who's a much better mage than Howl ever was. He's here, and he's like, "Hey man, how about you bring it down?" And then it's like, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Chaz. I'm the son of Howl." And then Astral's like, "Oh, wow, that's great. You're a historian like your dad." And he's like, "Yeah, blah, 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 blah." And he's like, "We need to find the Holy Sword." And he's like, "Oh, I've heard about that. Come on in." So we go in, and we have like a chit chat, and he's looking through like his library, and he's like, "I found it. I found the book about the Holy Sword." We're like, "Yes, we can go get it." And then he goes through, and he's like, "Oh, shucks, the page got ripped out. Rah, rah, rah." And then I think Peter's like, "Hey, don't worry about it. You know what? Comrade's the chosen one, and he's got the Jewel of Light. We'll just fucking figure it out somehow." And everyone's like, "Yeah, we will, because of the power of friendship." Anyway, on our way out, Chaz is like, "Hold up, I want to come with you." And Astra's like, "Hey bro, this isn't like some vacation. You're just going to go sit in that fucking caravan." And he's like, No, I want to see the Demon Skull and historical stuff, and I want to see the defeat of Xeon so I can record it as a historian. I'm also a wizard. And you're like, "Oh, wizards suck, man. We got a bunch of sorcerers over here. But yeah, you can come ride in the caravan if you want." And then on our way out of the town, we bump into Lemon again, and he's like, "Hold up." And we're like, "What's up, homie?" He's like, "I'm going to come with you and help fight Xeon and get revenge or whatever." And you're like, "Yeah, sounds good." All right, so he comes right into the caravan as usual at this point. "Hey, motherfucker, can you fly? How about you go fuck yourself then? Get in the caravan." Oh, flying. Honestly, if I could go back, I would have gotten Screech leveled up and switched him out with Gestalt or Geralt, because he's really not doing too much. But it is what it is. But that'd be my recommendation. Just overload with flying guys, because they are so fucking useful. And maybe that other Pegasus Knight. I don't know who to replace him with, though. The monks are so bad. The monks do so much goddamn damage, y'all. Like, they are my strongest fighters, period. like not even a joke. And they heal. Like, I don't know. There's definitely, at this point, I'm not going to be switching anything around because I have to level guys up. But, like, if I could do it all again, I might be switching some of these dudes out. Because, shit. Just flying guys, monks. That's all you need. Anyway, so of course we're going to head to the Southern Shrine, because why wouldn't we? That's where the jewel came from, and that's the only place we can fucking go besides the demon statue, which we need the holy sword to get to. So on our way, we see some demons led by like a Hydra demon that's like, all right, so Jess dead, Camille's dead, that other guy that was completely unimportant showed up and died immediately is dead. That leaves Odd Eye. Xeon's going to need a lot more greater devils. So if we can kill this motherfucker and get the jewel back, then we can be greater devils. Like, yeah. And then someone's like, there they are, get them. And so we kick the shit out of them, like no joke. And then go to the shrine. So then we head to the shrine. Within the shrine, as soon as we walk in the shrine, or as soon as we walk to the second floor of the shrine, the light gem is like, behold, there's the sword. We're like, woo! And it busts open a door and there's a sword in the ground. And then when you try to take it, the game doesn't let you because, so, the Sega Genesis, which this came out for, has 2 buttons that are positive and 1 negative button. Actually, the Sega Genesis had 6 buttons. 3 of those buttons did jack shit all for, like, most games. I don't know if the original Sega Genesis even had all 6 buttons. I think that was like an addition you could get. So, like, I don't know what the point of those buttons is. Maybe fighting games? Anyway, so there's the C button, which I normally use. And the C button is like a universal, like, acknowledgement, which means if you click on it, you'll just automatically search, automatically talk to people, yada, yada, yada. Now, if you press the A button, it'll bring up the menu, right? Which you can use to talk to people and search. And this is the one time in the entire game that if you just click C, nothing will happen. You have to click A and then click search, and then you will pull the sword out of the fucking stone, and then you get it, which is slightly better than the other sword I spent all that time trying to get for the hero, Comrade. So, but I guess I can use the sword to cast Blaze 3, I think, if I remember correctly. One of the blazes. So I guess it's not wholly unnecessarily. That's why I have the Heat Axe still with Gunter or whatever, so that he can cast Blaze 2. Yeah, it must be Blaze 3 because that one's Blaze 2. Anyway. And it's the Force Sword. Yep, that's the sword we used in Final Conflict. And here it is again. Awesome. So now we got it. I love the connection. So then we take the sword to the demon head, use it there. It unlocks the demon head, which opens up a maze. And we got to just traverse through this maze. It's not that complicated. There's like chutes and ladders. So you can't go up chutes, but you can go up and down ladders. So we just got to kind of work our way around till we get to this big scary door in the middle. Once we do, we open it up. And it's time to fight Odd Eye. Odd Eye shows up. He's like, hello, friends. I'm Oddler, if you didn't know. And they're like, oh, my gosh, I had no idea. But they talk about that for a little bit. And then Odd Eye's like, all right, well, it's time to fight. And he creates this like glass flooring chamber, which at points during the battle, 2 sections of it will fall away. But they fell away so early in the battle that I was like, could that have possibly affected me? Maybe, because I started going one direction, and then I guess the floor fell out, and so I had to go like back the other direction, which was kind of annoying. But it is what it is. Anyway, once we beat Odd Eye, which he was a lot less impressive. He was as equally impressive as he was in Final Conflict, which is to say, not impressive at all. Mostly because what really fucking sucks about a lot of these bosses is they cast like Bolt 2, Bolt 3, and they have like Demon Breath at some point, which I'm assuming they have in this game. I don't know. They did in Final Conflict and I think in the other Gaiden games, but that Demon Breath is like no fucking joke. But this guy has none of that. He just like walked up to dudes and hit them, and he was kind of fast. Like he took like more, his agility was pretty high, so he took more turns than like your average muck, but he was still just doing like regular damage, like maybe slightly stronger, and he had like 200 hit points. But again, my monks are doing like 60 damage per hit. Like they fucked this dude up real hard. Like I hit him with like 2 guys, and the monks like finished him off. Like, damn. They ain't joking around. And so he's all Satapotamus. He's like, oh, if only I never gained my memory back. We never had to fight. Maybe we could have lived together. I hope in my next life I don't have to be a devil so that I can just enjoy a peaceful life. And then Peter like cries it out, and Comrade cries it out, and then even Lemon is kind of sad about the whole situation. Meanwhile, Astro's like, all right, motherfuckers, let's go. Fuck this guy. Fuck, I don't even know who this is. He can eat a dick. So we continue up the tower, and we run into Creed. He's alive, thank goodness, too, because he functions as our priest for this final section, so we don't have to go all the way back to a fucking town like Galen, or Yeel. So he heals us up and resurrects the guys who died, and it's awesome. And he's like, yeah, I'm great, doing great. Thanks so much. And I just want to throw a thank you to Team Sonic, or whoever made this version, Camelot, and Sega, because thank you for not making me go all the fucking way back to heal my guys when they're obviously going to get murked in these like final battles. I feel like I'm on like the cusp of the end of the game at this point, because it's like, what's left? Well, what's left is that we climb the tower, and then we fight like the most bullshit battle of the entire game. Because there's like columns that dudes can hide behind, and they love hiding behind those columns. So I literally have to like fly around with one of my guys and be like, "Up there's somebody, there's somebody," and they don't move until they get close enough to attack. So they're really sneaky Potamus about the whole situation. Ton of flying guys who can cast magic all over the place, and guys who can cast magic at a distance where like if they're standing on the next level up, they can cast down, which makes sense, but it's still kind of annoying. So we forced our way through this battle and beat like, I can't remember, it was like a Reaper or some bullshit bad guy who just like who died in like one shot to my monk. Golly. Oh goodness. So that was great. And then we go back to Creed, heal up again, and now it's probably the final battle because we head in and we work our way through the tower some more, and we end up in that spot like from the very beginning of the game where we fought that first spirit, but it's all busted up, and where we fought the King of Gollum. And guess who's back? King Gollum, and also Princess Elise. And Peter's like, "It's Princess Elise! Yay, we found her! Finally, we came back for her after all this time, after years of letting her be in this like terrible place." The King Gollum's he's as pissed off as before, and he's like, "I'm going to distract you so that Xenon can recover his full strength. Have at you!" So we take care of that asshole. Man, what an asshole. And at that point, he's crashed on the ground. The princess wakes up. We won! We saved the day. Oh, wait. No, we didn't. Hold up! There's an earthquake. And Xeon in all his gross glory, his big muscly arms and his gross face with his crazy hair and his like lazy eye comes popping out of the ground. And Peter's like, "Whoop, we better run for it." And then Astral's like, "Oh, we can't run for it. The princess fainted from seeing or maybe Lemon said it. We can't run. The princess fainted from seeing Xeon." And it's like, well, I guess we got to fight. And I'm like, or pick her up and BTFO out of here. Because that last battle of Gollum, I fucking lost like my whole fucking team. So, oh well, guess we'll just level up a little bit. So we do. I just kill monsters until eventually Comrade dies. I resurrect everybody at Creed, and I'm like, well, I guess I gotta fight that King Gollum battle again. Fuck it. Fucking games. And then I come back and I don't. Oh, it's so good. It's so excellent. So then I just like mop the floor with all of Xeon's minions. I think I lose Kiwi. That's it. And from killing like all, and I even split my team up into 2 groups of 6. But I end up killing all his mooks, and then it's time to fight Xeon. And in the traditional Shining Force final battle, I just send one person, or I send people at him like one at a time to just hit him in the face until eventually he dies. While Comrade lays back on his golden throne of people that can die and the battle not end until Karna and Sarah, the best 2 characters in the game, fuck him up. Sarah by healing constantly, and then for the final jab, which is like, I'm like, oh, this motherfucker's got 50 hit points left. Monks! And Connor runs up because she's the first one who gets her turn, and she just fucks him up. Does like 60 something damage. Like, jeez Louise, man. I got all my Wolfmen and my Phoenixes and even my Ninja doing like max critical hit and like 50 damage. And then my monks just like stroll on up, and they beat the shit out of everybody. It's incredible. They are so goddamn strong, and they heal. And at some point, Karna got Aura too, so now she can heal like everybody. She doesn't heal for a lot, like 20 hit points, but still, jeez. The only equivalent is Apollo, level 2, which is a summon spell. And that's still just doing like 50 damage, but golly. Those goddamn monks. Alright, well, after his defeat, and he fades away and dies, and everyone's like, hooray, we won again, second time. This time for real, right? It's like that meme with with Anakin Skywalker. I'm not a Star Wars guy, but the one with Hayden Christensen, and then that Jewish chick before she got old and gross. And she's like, he says something like, oh, we killed Xeon. Xeon's dead. And then she's like, that's the end of the game, right? He's dead for good. And then it's like silence. And then she's like, we killed him for good this time, right? Because King Galen is laying there and he wakes up and he's like, oh, help me, I'm dying. Oh, where have I been? I feel so bad. What happened? And then Lemon's like, oh, my king, you were possessed by a devil. Something. Let us help you. Oh, I'm so sorry, my king. It was awful. We were all possessed by devils. None of us killed I'm a vampire now and shit. And then the princess is like, I feel so bad for him. And so she goes up and she's like, there, King Gallum. You can put your head in my lap while you slowly die and the end of your life. And then he stands up and picks her up. And it's like, oh no, King Gallum, what are you doing? He's like, I'm not King Gallum. Fuck that guy. It's me, Xeon. And it's like, damn it. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. Oh, Lord. Anyway. So he demands the evil jewel, because if he doesn't get the evil jewel, he's just going to fade into nothing and lose all his power. And so obviously the choice is to save the princess and give up all of humanity for the evil jewel. That's what we do. So, but hey, we can't get the evil jewel off Comrade's chest. But Xeon doesn't care. He says, fucking do it. And so Peter's like, let me try. And he's like, can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. Hold on. Maybe if I twist it a tiny... There we go. It came off. That was easy. Okay. So then he throws the evil jewel down where Xeon asks for it, and then he's like, all right, princess, adios. And so he casts like some sort of black smog on her, which poisons her. And he's like, and then Lemon's like, you bastard. And he runs up and he sets him on fire. He's like, that's Bellfire. Well, he doesn't say Bellfire, but he says that fire can even burn a vampire. Suck a dick. And then Astral and Peter run up to him and he's like, baha! And he like sends them scattering back. And then he's like, I have won. I am the king. And then we run up there and we backhand his evil jewel and it goes flying to a very obvious spot like 3 blocks away that no one can like figure out until Metula shows up later. And then he's like, fuck you, and he knocks us back, and we collapse. And he's like, I'm going to find that jewel before I die. And he starts, like, very slowly meandering. And then a light comes from us, and we find out that light is the jewel of light. And then it heals Lemon, so he can get up. And so Lemon's like, aha, and he goes, and then Xeon's like, no, I don't think so. And he sets him on fire again. He's like, all right, where's that fucking jewel? And then the jewel of light resurrects Lemon again. And Lemon's like, I got you this time. And Xeon's like, how do you keep doing this? And he tries to fight him, and Lemon's like, no, my king. It's like, dude, bro, this is not your fucking king. This is like a possessed devil. I guess you're a vampire demon now, so I guess maybe it is your king. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, so he grabs Xeon and drags him down to fucking hell, I guess, because they're devils, and devils go to hell. But it's like a hole in the Tower of Ancients, and they plummet down, and the thing seals off. And then we're like, oh, no, the princess is dead. And then someone's like, our Astral's like, no, she's still breathing. She's just very cold. What's that about? And they're like, I don't know. Maybe we should try, I don't know, putting a blanket on her or some shit. Oh, I don't know. Maybe something. And then Metula shows up. She's like, the fuck are you guys doing? We're like, oh, we're trying to figure out what's wrong with the princess. And Metula's like, she's in a coma. Deal with it. Anyway, scrubs, give me those jewels. And like, what? Fuck you. And then she's like, we have been helping you this whole time. We were just pretending not to help and pretending to be weak. So Xeon didn't come attack Parmesia. It's like, well, that's rude. And then Peter's like, no, Volcanon swore he would not help the humans. And he was like a real big asshole about the whole situation. And then Metula like taps her nose and she's like, who do you think made the Jewel of Light and was helping you resurrect Lemon while you were trying to fight Xeon? And you're like, Volcanon? And she's like, got it. And I was like, well, I guess that was something. He's still an asshole, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so how do we... And so she's like, oh, there's the evil jewel. I found it. It was right here, like 2 blocks away from where I'm standing. So she picks it up, and she's like, give me that jewel of light. And then she comes over and just snatches it, or we hand it over or whatever. And she's like, all right, cool. You better scatter, because I'm going to seal this shit up, and it's going to suck if you get sealed in here with it. And then Astra's like, wait. One more question, please. And Metula's like, what? I got shit to do. I got a date later. And he's like, what do we do about this? And she's like, oh, yeah, she's fine. She's poisoned. Eventually her face will turn pink. It'll be like a couple months, I don't know, or years. I'm like an immortal goddess. It doesn't really mean anything to me. All right, better go. Bye. And they're like, wait. What? Then what? And she's like, oh, god damn, dudes. I got shit to do. Her true love kiss. That's what she needs. Fuck it. Whatever. True love kiss. There you go. Now leave. And then she pieces out. And then we're like, oh, okay, well, that sounds good. And months, years? God, that sucks. And then the whole thing starts shaking. They're like, oh, shit, she's going to seal the place for realsy. Comrade, pick up your girlfriend and let's go. Oh, and they make like googly eyes at each other earlier. And they made googly eyes at the beginning of the game. I forgot to mention that. So there's a thing. And then poor precious Sarah, the mighty monk, the greatest monk of all time, who fucking devastates and heals at the same time. It has like 3 other worthless spells. Poor her. So Comrade picks her up and we peace out. We get the fuck out of there. And then the game goes black and it's like 2 years later. Grand Seal was reborn, I guess. the poisonous left, we hear our mommy talking to a neighbor, and he's like, oh, the princess is pink faced now, so all she needs is a kiss and she can wake up. We wake up in our room back in Grandsill, and we come downstairs and we wander around talking to people. Most people think I'm going to kiss the princess because obviously I'm the hero, so of course I'm going to kiss the princess. There's some funny stuff going on. There's like a little girl who's like, I hate you now. And then there's like Chester apparently has a girlfriend who's another centaur, and she's like, if Chester gets chosen to kiss that princess, I'm gonna fucking, what did she say? I'm gonna hoof him in the face. It's pretty brutal. Like, damn. Jealousy, right? And then there's an old lady who's like, I wish someone would kiss me. And there's like an older man next to him, and he's like, I'll kiss you. And he go up and they smooch, and they're like, oh, we're in love. And I'm like, oh, that's adorable. So eventually we get to the school where Astral and our homies are. And they're all like, Jaha's like, I hope it's me who gets to kiss her. I'm in love with the princess. It's like, shut up, motherfucker. No, we all know it's not going to be you. And then Sarah's like, oh man, if it happens to be Comrade, who I've had 2 years to seduce and haven't been able to do it, so I guess fuck me, then I don't know what I'll do with myself. It's like, I'll probably marry the other elf in the party, that wizard guy, which probably happens. It's not implicit, but you know. And so finally Astra's like, all right, everybody ready? Let's go. And so we all head to the castle. Astra puts on like a show, and then Luke's like, the fuck are we talking about? Who's going to kiss her? It's going to be Comrade. Are we all retarded? Like, obviously it's going to be him. And then Peter's like, yeah, that was my understanding as well. And then Jaha, that dumb fucking dwarf, is like, wait, but I'm in love with the princess. And then Slade walks up. He's like, hey, brother, you're a fucking dwarf. She doesn't want to kiss you. She wants to be with a human. And I'm like, racism! But everyone agrees. May... I forgot about her, but she's here. She's like, yeah, dummy. Like, how's that gonna happen? And then Chester's like, what about me? And everyone's like, and then Chester's like, yeah, I mean, I'm a centaur. I just figured there was no chance I'd be hooking up with the princess. Like, come on. How would that even work, fellas? And John's like, I'm sad. And then, after the blatant racism, Astra walks up to Sarah and is like, hey, kiddo. Taps her on the shoulder. You're gonna be okay with all this? And she's like, yeah, I guess it's okay. And then she runs off, and Astra's like, well, she did it better than I thought. And then Chester's like, oh, I'll go check on her. And then Kazin's like, hey bro, let me go check on her. I think I can relate to her a little bit better. And he's like, what do you mean? And the guy's like, come on, motherfucker. What? I'm going to go. And he's like, I'll come with you. And he's like, please don't. And so he goes to get his dick wet. Good for him. And then Chaz, hey, you remember Chaz? He's that guy who went straight into my fucking caravan, who's the historian. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be Comrade. Are we all... I'm with Peter and Luke. Are we all retarded? Like, what the fuck? And so Astra's like, all right, well, yeah, that's what I was going to choose him all along. I just wanted to make a big production of it because I'm like Gandalf from the fucking Lord of the Rings, I guess. And I just like to make a big deal out of nothing. And everyone's like, right, sounds good. And then the king's like, all right, my future son-in-law, go wake up your future wife, the princess, so you can become king of the land. And the minister's up there just hanging out for some reason. So we blush, and someone points it out. I think it was, at some point, and then Rhodes like, man, I wish someone would kiss me. Or I was like, oh, young love. And then Zinx is like, you were young once? And Rhodes like, I'm going to fucking kill you later, you bag balls. Oh, this ending is excellent. It is so fucking excellent. All right, so we head upstairs, and then the minister is like, ooh, you're blushing. I think he's the one who says that. And then we go in, and I try to kiss the princess, and it won't let me. Then I go to like a different side of the bed, and then a third side of the bed, and it was the opposite side of the bed. That's my bad. I should have gone there first. And then we get like a nice little, I don't want to call it a cutscene, but like sort of cutscene where we get a picture, essentially like a really nice drawn picture of Comrade kissing the princess, who has like insane looking hair. Like it's like a whole mop of hair on top of her head. Anyway. So, and then it's credits roll, and it's like dun 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 dun, and then the credits end, and Astral, the Chamberlain, and the King are all standing there, and Comrade comes down, and he gives a thumbs up, then he goes back and gets Princess Elias, and they come, and it's the end. But it's not quite the end yet, because again, we have like the storyteller of the story, and it's an old crone. I don't know if I mentioned this before. There's like an old crone with like a pot. Ow, my back's all sore all of a sudden. That was weird. But she's like, you did it! Now I can turn into my true self. And she turns into Matula, and she has the two jewels, the jewel of evil and the jewel of light. And she's like, thanks, big guy. And then it goes to like a screen with just the two jewels, and it says Finn. So that's the end of the game. Now, there's some controversy Not a lot. I feel like when I was like, that's Matula, right? That's got to be her. Like, who else could it possibly be? And I was like, well, Sarah has blue hair as well. So let me ask the AI. So I got on, which one? Was it Google AI? I don't know. Whatever. It was Google or Bing, whatever one. I just said like, hey, who's the woman at the end of Shining Force 2? And it was like, we read a bunch of discussion forums. They say it's Sarah. And I'm like, that's some bullshit. What discussion forums are you reading, AI? Fuck you. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. So then I went to an actual discussion forum from the Shining Force Central, and the majority of people are like, oh yeah, it's fucking Matula. I mean, who else could it possibly be? And then some people, the next best answer is, it's just nobody, right? Because all these games have like, they're like reading the story, and they're not part of the story or whatever. There is like a throwaway line by Simone, I think is her name, from the first game, where she's like, this is where me and Max killed the Dark Dragon. And you're like, you're not in the party. You're like not a character in this game fucking at all. What are you talking about? Anyway, some people thought it was her, but then there was like quickly destroyed by anyone with like common sense. And then some people mentioned like, well, when I played it when I was a kid, I always thought it was Sarah. And I was like, I could see that, but it's not. So that's the game. All right, so there's Shining Force 2. We're cruising through. That's game number 5. I have it 4 in my list because Sega CD is number 2, right? But it's actually 2 games. So game number 5 of the Shining series. Next up is going to be a complete change. So all these games have been like tactics style games, like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics, sort of. The next game in the series is Shining Wisdom, and this goes back to the roots. So the original first game in the whole Shining series is Shining in the Darkness, which is actually game number 7. So game number 6, I think it's game number 7. I'm almost positive. Anyway, but before that is Shining Wisdom in the chronological order, which is a Sega Saturn game, and I've never played it, but I'm almost 1,000% positive it's like a first-person dungeon crawler. So that'll be interesting because I've never played it. I know like virtually nothing about it. I just like I looked up a guide last night just to like have available just in case I beat the game in the morning, so I'd be like ready to go. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. I don't know how long this is going to be. At least an hour and a half, most likely. Another hour and a half, another hour plus video about a Shining Force game. And yeah, this was excellent. I would highly recommend it. I still say Shining Force 1 was more enjoyable, but this game has a lot of extra stuff you can do. Some of it, like the Mithril stuff, was super annoying. Some of the battles were much more annoying. I like that the Master Monk was like the best part of the fucking game, hands down. They are so radical. You have a lot more like weird creatures you can get in this one, like that are worthwhile, like Kiwi and Peter, and I'm sure the Golem and Zinc and stuff, if you like really invest the time, would be decent. You get them so late in the game. That's the problem with a lot of these characters. Some of them are interesting, but you get them so late in the game, you gotta like really grind it out to get use from them, and it's like at this point, like why? Like I had virtually no problem with the game, like any level. Like that, I think I died. Well, I died to Xeon when I had like 6 characters, and I had like half my party. But outside of that, I think Comrade got killed like 3 times in the entire game. Like way less than in Shining Force 1, or even like, well, the guiding games are pretty easy too. But that being said, it's great. If you enjoyed any of the Shining Force games, if you enjoy just like tactics games, it's smooth, it's fun. You play it like at 3 times speed, which I think is what I played it at, on an emulator, and you're gonna have a blast. It's just, it's so good and so fun, and the story is hilarious, and it's well written, and I feel like it's translated and localized pretty well. I feel like there was a couple spots where I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but not nearly as bad as like most games from this era, where there's like, you're getting like some Final Fantasy games that are just like, what the fuck are these people talking about? Like, I have no idea what's happening. But yeah, so 100% A+, great game. And yeah, so go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you most likely, if you're watching these videos as they come out a week from now, for Shining Wisdom, which will not take me a week to beat, but I'm like way ahead of schedule on these games. So they're coming out like, I got them like scheduled like months in advance. Cool. Catch y'all later.